Hello, my name is Orland Haber. I'm a professor in the Department of Computer Science at the University of Regina. Today I'll be demonstrating the key features of Dilex Search, a new interface layer for our university's digital library. We designed Dilex Search to support cross-session and cross-device searching. While all the features I'll show in this video will be from a desktop computer, everything works the same when using small screen devices such as your mobile phone. After logging in using your usual university credentials, you can start your search simply by typing your initial query. Submitting the query does two things. First, it creates a brand new task to hold this query and the other queries we'll be doing for this particular topic. And the second is that it issues the query to the backend search engine and generates a list of search results. I'm going to start with a rather open-ended query, generative AI, with the goal of trying to identify search results where they're using generative AI, maybe in the context of generating art. So suppose I'm working on this for an academic project. I might want to limit the type of searching that I'm doing to only peer-reviewed articles. So I'm going to use the categories on the right to limit my search results to peer-reviewed. And maybe I also want to limit them to only conference proceedings and journal articles. As I'm doing this, it's generating an estimate of the number of search results that will be generated by these types of filters. And so I see that there's going to be about 22,000 search results, still quite a few, but I'll apply the filter anyway to generate those search results. I can hide this away if I want, and then start focusing on evaluating the search results. And what we'll note from the beginning is that there's a lot of keywords that are being generated out of these search results. These keywords are grouped up at the top. If I decide that any of these keywords are of particular interest to me, I can click on them to start highlighting the search results based on these keywords. So maybe I'm interested not in chemistry, pharmaceutical, or organic chemistry, maybe artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, maybe something around ethics. And so as I click on these topics, these keywords, my search results start getting highlighted based on them. So the first couple search results are not using these keywords, but if I scroll down, I'll start to see with color encoding that ChatGPT is being used in this first search result. And if I scroll down here, I find that ethics is being used in the second one. If I find this particular search result interesting, I can do two things. I can click on it to open it in a new tab and assess the specific details of this search result. And this actually loads the content out of our existing digital library backend system. And so I can find out how it's accessible, whether it exists in the library or so on. I can then close that, and if I really want it and I want to hold on to it for a period of time, rather than opening up a series of tabs and keeping those tabs open, I can just add it to my workspace. So clicking on this button, the plus button, will add it to my workspace, and it'll allow me to keep track of this search result for later use. So this is a document on ethics and generative AI. Here's another document on ethics and generative AI. So maybe I started with an interest in art, but maybe now my interest has really gone into the domain of ethics and AI. So maybe I'll put ethics in my query. So if I add ethics, again, I get that same search result that I had started with, but a list of new ones. Maybe I'll go over and have a look at my filters. My filters are still active, so this is still generating queries that are using these three filters: peer-reviewed, conference proceedings, and articles. So that makes me happy. And I'll continue to move down and try to evaluate and find search results that are of interest to me. So ethics and generative AI in healthcare. Maybe I don't have a specific interest in healthcare. Maybe inclusive media, that looks good. Maybe how enterprises navigate this. That's interesting. Let's move to the next page of search results. So I get this next set of search results. Again, I can go back to my keywords, and maybe I can start to scan my keywords to see if there's anything interesting among the keywords to help me evaluate the search results. Maybe computer communications. Let's have a look at the communications ones. I can scroll down, artificial intelligence applications. So this is a conference proceedings, maybe a little less interesting for that. Social robots. Yeah, maybe that wasn't all that helpful. If I decide there's something that isn't very helpful, I can delete it. So I've done some initial querying, some searching, trying to find things that are of interest to me. If I want to see how I've been doing, I can go back and have a look at my search tasks. So clicking on the button in the top left corner will bring me to a summary of my search activity on this topic of generative AI that I started today. What we'll see is a summary of my search activity on a timeline on the bottom. So I've only started this today, so all my searching has been today, and we get a marker indicating what that searching was. The size of the circle indicates how many queries I've issued. Only 3 queries, not that many. The fill of the query, the color and the darkness of that color inside the circle tells me how many documents I've found, how successful I've been in my search activities. If I want to see those documents, I can just click on this button and it'll give me a list of the documents that I have already evaluated. And I can jump back to my tasks. If I want to see the queries that I've issued, I can click on the queries and have a look at those specific queries and see how successful they have been in terms of issuing and evaluating my search results. I see those 2 queries that I've issued, and the second and the third one each allowed me to find 2 documents. So that gives me an indication of how successful I've been. Suppose I run out of time for my search today and I just decide, okay, I'm going to stop. I can use this to help me to evaluate what I want to do when I get back to searching. So I'm going to jump all the way back to the very beginning. This is my search task that I built before. If I want to start a brand new task on something very different, let's say I'm taking a class on art history and I want to do art history, let's say Middle Ages. I can use that as a starting query and issue a brand new task, brand new query, a completely different search. And what I'm doing with this search and the documents that I'm saving end up being saved completely independent of my original search results that I did earlier. So if I jump back to my tasks, I now see these 2 sets of tasks being separate from one another. I click on the document saved on the one that I just did on art history, and I get only this one document that I saved. Whereas if I want to see the ones on generative AI, those are all separated from from each other. So I'm going to stop here and pick it up in a couple days to show you what things look like when I get back to searching after a while. Returning to Dilex 1 week later, I can see the 2 search activities that I had done last week and the indication of how many queries and how successful I was. So if I decide I want to resume my generative AI search activity, I can just click on it to see in detail again what I had done a week ago. So this gives me the ability to reassess what I had been doing, how successful I was with these things, and so on. So if I decide that the generative AI and ethics was the thing that I want to pick up, I can click on that query, which will reissue that exact same search back to the system. So I can then start evaluating, maybe I'll hide the filter again, and I can start evaluating what I had found and see if there's anything new that is catching my attention. Here again, some healthcare stuff. A lot of healthcare things seem to be coming up right now in terms of generative AI. Maybe I want, let's say R&D, and let's see if there's anything R&D related. Well, perhaps the healthcare is a great place to start looking to see what generative AI is doing in this domain. So I'll add that query or that document to my search results. Looking at my list of search results, I now see that the documents that I saved are organized not just by time, but with dividers to say when I had issued these queries or when I had found the documents. So this again allows me to keep track of what I've been doing when I've been doing it. If I come back and say I'm no longer interested in some of these topics, maybe this management of educators is no longer of interest to me, I can delete it from my workspace, drop it off, and use this to prune out the things that are no longer of interest to me as my topical interests change over time. Jumping back to the very top, I see now that generative AI has been pulled up to the top of the list of my search topics because it is now the most recent thing that I've been working on. I can see I issued a query today and saved 1 document. We still have 4 documents saved because I added 1, it went up to 5. I deleted 1, it went back down to 4. So I'll stop here. This is Dilex Search in a nutshell. I hope you find it helpful and useful for your search activities.